702.
The Big Interview
With Bongani Bingwa.
16 minutes after 7. So today we're going to do something we don't really do very often. First, let me start by giving you some insight into the world of live talk radio and how we do what we do. So we decided as a team to take a step back, if you will, and look at some of what is emerging in the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Because you're hearing about the infiltration of the police, you're hearing about undue influence, you're hearing about people in serious criminal investigations driving around vehicles that have blue lights fitted on them. We often hear about dockets going missing and things of that sort when it comes to policing. And we thought, how does that happen? If a docket goes missing, who would be responsible for its disappearance? Who would hold that person accountable? And why don't we have, for example, some kind of digital system so that even if the paper record disappears, there is still a way to trace the information? So we wanted to bring in an expert who is an academic now, but has himself been in crime intelligence before. And at the very last minute, he cancelled. Possibly because he's been on other platforms where he's explained this kind of thing and now is considering possible reprisals. That is where we are. He then, 2 minutes before now, said, no, I'll come back. By which time we decided to go perhaps a different direction. Now, the thing we don't normally do is speak to a guest twice in a row, 2 days following each other. But we thought, well, let's bring in somebody with an outsider's perspective on this. So we've brought back Chad Thomas, who is a crime expert at IRS Forensic Investigation. But alongside him, we've got Dr. Chris de Kock, who's an independent crime and violence analyst. And they are going to have a look at these issues from behind the scenes. Chad, welcome back. We must stop meeting like this, hey?
An absolute honor, 2 days in a row.
Have you ever? Dr. Chris de Kock, I appreciate your time at the very last moment. And perhaps let me start with you. It appears to me that one of the things we are seeing, and in fact we heard from Mkhwanazi himself, was a sense that many people in crime intelligence, and I'm talking about the officers on the ground, have so many things to consider, not only the criminals that they are investigating, or suspects perhaps is the better word to use, but possible reprisals and interference from above. A case isn't just a case as it is.
Yeah, good morning and good morning to the listeners. Yeah, I think today in the police, I don't know. I'm out of the police for 12 years now, but I think it is difficult. There's a lot of things to consider, and especially in crime intelligence. We know for a fact that crime intelligence is very fractured. There are many factions within crime intelligence. And if you're an officer there investigating something or gathering some intelligence, you may be under a lot of pressure. And you may look at a certain syndicate and get some information on that. But there's a lot of pressures, and you may
that
be
pressure. Let's talk about that pressure, Dr. de Kock. I mean, it's threats, right? Or even the offers of bribes. That's the pressure we're talking about.
Yeah, and even your family. That is even worse when people tell you we know where your children is going to school, and we know all the movements of your wife and all of those type of things.
Gosh. All right, Chad, let's start at the beginning. We've now, let's say we're looking at a political killing, right? A case lands on a detective's desk. What actually goes into a police docket? What is supposed to happen?
So a police docket, by its very nature, is allegations that have been made of a crime. When somebody commits their signature under oath to the A1 statement, which is the founding statement on that docket, that actually becomes prima facie evidence of a crime. because that person has stated under oath that this is now what has happened. Further investigations have to take place, and in South Africa, with the complexities of crimes and the fact that it's difficult to get dockets enrolled, you need the NPA's involvement. So what would normally happen is a prosecutor gets assigned, and the prosecutor helps with guidance. That prosecutor also plays an integral role in signing off on certain documentation that's required, together with the magistrate, whether it's a Section 205 subpoena to obtain information on cell phone records, banking records, that type of thing, or J175 for someone to appear in court, or J50 for a warrant of arrest to be issued. So there's a symbiotic relationship that exists between the police officer and the prosecutor. It can never be complainant-driven. The police themselves, of course, we know, suffer severe inadequacies in terms of the numbers of truly skilled investigators that have remained in the service. Last year, we were 8,000 detectives short within the police, and the Hawks only capacitated to about 51%. So a docket in South Africa is still paper-driven. It's still that hard brown cover. They'll scan in the A1 and the 3M forms, which is who the complainant is and what the basis of the case is, with a brief summary in terms of the 8.1.1.1 function on the CAS system. But they won't necessarily have everything there. It's not digitized. We're not watching an American crime series taking place in front of our eyes. It's a very laborious process.
Dr. de Kock, we often hear of dockets going missing. Why aren't our systems digitized?
That's a very good question, but I can't answer it. I don't know, but we are, as was just said, paper-driven. It's a docket, it's a brown docket, a folder, and everything goes in there. And I don't know why it's not digitized. I know that there was a time that they started to sort of scan it onto the system, but that's the only thing that happened.
Yeah. Chad, I mean, it sounds extraordinary that in 2025 that would be the case, because once that evidence is logged into a docket, you mentioned banking records, cell phone records, witness statements. If all we have is a copy in a brown folder, well, that can't be very secure. It's easy to lose.
It's easy to lose. It's also, in inverted commas, easy to misplace. So if it's misplaced and an accused is brought to court and the docket is not there, the matter is postponed to now find the docket. If they still cannot find the docket, the matter may be provisionally withdrawn and then never re-enrolled. It's a frightening situation, and despite the current status around Diane Kohler-Barnard, she in fact was the champion for the last 2 decades to get the system digitized, and budget has been made available over the last 2 decades, but not much has come of it. We have the primary statement scanned, we have a summary, but all the additional information, you'll see investigating officers are coming to court with bags upon bags upon bags of lever arch files, depending on the complexities of a case. You must remember, some cases when it comes to a complex financial crime may run into the tens, if not of the hundreds of thousands of documents, supporting documents, tender documents, bank statements, contra-bank accounts. It's just a outdated, archaic system that really needs to be addressed because it's so vulnerable to corruption.
I started by asking Dr. de Kock, Chad, that if you're a detective or an officer, an investigating officer working on the cases you've just described, one of the things that must now be clear with these alleged influence and interference is that a case isn't just a case, but that there may be people who have interest in the matter not being concluded. So what happens when an investigator is suddenly pulled from a case or reassigned? What does that mean for the case? And is this how the door is opened for interference by, say, people who have interest in the matter not being concluded?
It creates a massive problem. Already our detectives are carrying far too many dockets than they should be carrying. When you have seasoned investigators reallocated to other units, seconded to IDAC, seconded to NPA, etc., their dockets are then allocated to other members who are already working cases that they've been working from the very beginning. Now they're expected to catch up to speed in respect of another matter, not to mention the fact that they're inundated with their own caseload, which is sometimes 2 to 3 times the amount of dockets they should be carrying. So they may not necessarily show a desire or an interest, and that docket gets written dead. It just gets filled in the investigation diary on the C-clip every time there's going to be an inspection, but there's not necessarily work that's done on that docket.
Dr. de Kock, we heard yesterday about this chain of people that are involved in these criminal networks and syndicates. There are spotters, there are your actual trigger men, there are the people who issue the instruction, then there's of course the kingpin and somebody who's set at the top of the organization. Do we have any intelligence gathering or profiling of these groups or associations? I mean, surely that kind of thing, in my mind, shouldn't be happening without someone being aware that Network A or Mafia Gang B is on the move, let's say.
Well, I think we may not have all of it, but I think there's still a lot of intelligence if we listen to General Mkhwanazi. I mean, all of the things that he referred to, lots of that is as a result of intelligence gathering. And he constantly referred to General Khumalo, which is now suspended, but General Khumalo is the head of crime intelligence. And it seems there's quite a lot of activity. And in certain provinces, it seems there are more activity than in others. If we look at KZN, very often police now go to a place where they're going to arrest somebody, some gang, some robbers, and well, sometimes it ended in a shooting. But I mean, there must be intelligence to have that kind of activity.
All right, Chad. I mean, on the one hand, I mean, you mentioned yesterday just some of the successes we have seen in recent weeks, in recent months. But I'm just thinking of, again, an officer who's got to consider so many issues, so many balls in the air. There are the networks that they're investigating, the individuals, and how dangerous those are. Then you've got to consider that your bosses might be compromised by these networks, who have money, who have firepower. Are these officers really up against it?
That's a certainty, and I think that's one of the biggest problems we face. So many people have become overnight celebrities virtually because of their status from a money perspective. So if you're a tenderpreneur, you've got money, you've got status. If you're a general heading up a unit within the police, you're a celebrity within certain circles because you've reached that pinnacle. And therein lies a problem. The symbiotic relationship is created between very senior members, top-tier leadership of the underworld, and top-tier leadership of law enforcement. And when the members at the bottom see this, well, they think to themselves, if the higher senior members are doing this, I have no chance of being able to succeed in my case. Either I join them or I put myself at risk. Gosh,
thank you very much, both of you gentlemen. Dr. Chris de Kock, an independent crime and violence analyst, and Chad Thomas from IRS Forensic Investigations. We thought we'd give you that scene setter, if you will, so that as you watch the Madlanga Commission, or indeed listen throughout the day and you hear things on 702, you understand the context and the complexity that investigating officers have to work with.
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions.
Your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.